It is a win for children injured at birth by medical malpractice. Earlier this year, New York State set aside just $52 million for a critical program far short of what it needs to stay afloat. But after we pressed state leaders, the funding quadrupled. And tonight, investigator Mahsa Saeidi explains why families are still on edge.
As a father, I can't imagine the obstacles that these people have had to overcome.
I have plenty of medical expenses I should be reimbursed, but it's not being covered.
David Diaz's daughter, Judalise, is one of roughly 1,000 kids who suffered a neurological injury in the delivery room. But New York State didn't allow them to collect full damages from the hospitals found to be negligent. Instead, the state promised to provide lifelong health care through a unique program called the Medical Indemnity Fund, or MIF.
Every year it gets tougher and tougher to get the same services we're getting now.
Last summer, Diaz told me MIF was increasingly denying his daughter's claims. Then, without warning, MIF briefly shut its doors to new enrollees. It's financially unstable, facing a projected $3 billion shortfall. Families say the state mismanaged MIF and is now cutting corners.
Can we talk with you about the Medical Indemnity Fund?
Health Commissioner James McDonald oversees MIF. Despite its abrupt closure in May of 2024 and 2025, neither the commissioner nor the governor proposed any reforms or additional funding. And initially, the commissioner told lawmakers MIF would likely run out of cash again, triggering another shutdown. But 2 months later, when we had a chance to speak with him,
why is New York State not providing enough money to keep the doors of this fund open?
Well, the fund needs to be reformed, but I'm pleased with what I'm seeing so far in the process. In other words, the legislature's interested in making it sustainable. Same with the governor. I am as well. So I think we're going to end someplace well at the end of this year, but we'll see where we go. But I don't anticipate it shutting down this year.
Soon after, the state quadrupled MIF's funding from roughly $50 million to more than $200 million, preventing a shutdown. State Assemblyman Matt Slater.
That is a very strong half step, but the process itself is still broken. And so we still are throwing money at a bad process.
What's next to fix it?
We have to streamline the process for these families, making sure that there's an ombudsman or a panel for the families.
An ombudsman is very, very useful for us. It's a way to challenge when we get denied for reimbursements.
Before a medical visit, therapy, or treatment, Diaz must obtain prior approval from MIF. Documents show MIF just added new language stating, quote, "This approval does not guarantee rates of reimbursement."
You think they changed the wording because they want to cut your reimbursement?
I mean, what other reason would there be?
But a health department spokesperson says the language was just added, quote, "for awareness, not as a change in policy." And by law, reimbursement rates are and have always been subject to adjustments.
The reality is, without the help of people like you, we would never have had this happen. And of course it's a win.
But you're still concerned.
Still concerned. We have an opportunity to cover our kids' health costs for another year or two, and we'll see from there.
The state says this money should allow the fund to keep its doors open until the end of the fiscal year, July 2026. Meantime, Assemblyman Slater says he has repeatedly reached out to the health commissioner to collaborate and find a solution. But KJ, he says that he has never heard back.
Mahsa, we understand that roughly about 1,000 children are part of this fund. How fast is it growing?
Too fast, according to lawmakers. About 100 injured babies and children are enrolled into the fund each year. That's why it's so important to keep the promise that they made.
Absolutely. Promises, promises. Thank you, Mahsa. And if you have a story idea that you would like Mahsa or our investigative team to look into, just scan the QR code there on your screen. You could see your story on our air.